I feel like modeling falls into two buckets. There's you get scouted, you've submitted photos or a video of yourself, and an agency signs you. The second bucket is no one's interested in you modeling, and you persevere anyway, and you become a model even though nobody thought that they wanted you, and now that they want you, you have to negotiate with them, and suddenly you're going to have to figure out where you fit into this industry. My modeling journey falls into bucket number two. And this is the story about how I got signed as a model at 5'4", as a plus size curve model, whatever you want to call it. And I've now been modeling for going on almost 7 years now. If you're curious about modeling, agencies, how they work, how to submit, how to become a model, I'm going to share my story and then do a Q&A at the end, so stick around. To get to the beginning of the story, we have to go back in time, obviously, to 2016. I had just graduated or was about to graduate from a acting conservatory college in New York, and that is a story for another time. I was about to graduate, and there are sites like Actors Access and Backstage where actors will submit to be a part of short films, commercials, almost anything you can think of. That's kind of where actors are going to submit projects to or submit to be cast in. And so a lot of my friends and I were submitting to Backstage or Actors Access as we prepared to graduate from college. It was the week of my graduation, and I had submitted for a job on Actors Access or Backstage. I can't remember which one, and they were looking for a woman that wore the same size jeans that I wore. So I was like, cool, let me submit to this and we'll see what happens. This is a fun little, just graduated gig. I submitted to the job, and I remember the day my parents were leaving, I had booked the job, and so I waved goodbye to my parents and went to the photo shoot. In retrospect, I should have taken this as a sign that my first job out of acting school was for modeling, but hindsight's 2020. So I get to the shoot, I took some photos. It was for like a Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Disney collaboration with a clothing brand. It wasn't paid, it was very like lifestyle, social media team was doing it, very chill. I'm newly graduated from college, so clearly my priorities are working, partying, and running around New York, as any 20-year-olds would be. I wasn't even 21 yet. And so for the next 2 years, that's kind of what I did. Made a lot of fun memories. And then going into 2018, I had decided that I was kind of over the city at that point, unfortunately, as much as I loved it. And by the end of 2018, I decided if nothing came of acting, I would move back to Arizona that January of 2019. I just remember I was in a not so great headspace. I had just ended things with a guy I was seeing in Jersey, like super casually, and was incredibly devastated by it. I remember going on Actors Access, Backstage, one of those platforms, and I saw that there was a casting, like a makeup modeling casting. And I was like, okay, well, I have nothing else going on in my life right now, literally. I might as well go do it, and I went down to the casting. When I go to an in person casting, I always try to get there early so I can go to the bathroom, fix my hair, makeup, whatever may have happened on my journey there, and kind of just get a lay of the land. And I walked past a sign because I didn't know what the company was at the time. I walked past a sign and went into the bathroom, and I called my mom from the bathroom. And I remember, like, it was just such a euphoric moment that came over me, and I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I just got to my casting. It's for Bare Minerals and I'm going to book it." Prior to this, I have zero modeling experience. Like, I didn't model as a child. I didn't, though I did try to take photos in my Justice hat that I'll insert here to submit to an agency, which did not work out for me at 9, 10 years old, however old I was. No modeling experience. Obviously, I knew I liked my photo taken. I knew I liked being in front of the camera. I grew up in theater, but no actual modeling experience. I told her I was going to book the job, even though I had no reason to believe I was going to book the job. I just had this feeling come over me that I needed to share this with her and that I was about to book it. So I go into the room. God, I was sitting there talking with whoever was there. We were just chit chatting. I think they might have taken one picture of me. We were at a big table, and then I left. A couple days went by, and I knew the photo shoot date because they had asked me if I was free that day. And so I was at my job where I was a hostess at the time. I went to the bathroom to check my emails for whatever reason, and I saw that there was a message from them. And the photo shoot was the next day, and they had messaged me the night before saying that I had booked the job for Bare Minerals. This was so exciting. However, I did not have my hair done at the time. I don't know if it was a financial situation or if I just was not staying on top of getting my hair done. But the photos, like, bless my heart, like, my hair did not look good in these photos, but I digress. I get the email that I'm confirmed. I still don't know to this day if someone dropped out because you normally do get a call sheet the night before a photo shoot, but you don't get confirmed for the job. I don't know if it's because I wasn't with an agency at the time that they just let me know the night before, but either way, I was ecstatic. All I knew is that I had gotten the job and I was making money, like actual money. Acting at the time was making me zero money. That's why I had all these jobs. And so I was gonna make $400 from the shoot. I was so excited. I went to the photo shoot the next day and I think we were doing foundation, skin tint, concealer, one of those. And so there was a lot of girls. All of the girls were talking about what agency they were with. We all started chit chatting, and someone asked me what agency I'm with, and I said, "Oh, I'm not with an agency. I just booked this from an acting website, like not model." The girl I was sitting next to, named Alexis, would be such a pivotal person in my modeling journey because I have taken you all to a second location because all of my equipment wanted to die. So I sat down at the casting with Alexis and she was asking me if I modeled. I said no. And then she said, "You should start modeling." And I was just like, okay, like maybe this is just kind of like a one-off job for me. And she was like, "No, you look exactly like a girl who I used to work with at my old agency, and she would get so much work. She would work all the time." So I took that with a grain of salt. I did my shoot for Bare Minerals. I was just happy to go home with a bag of free Bare Minerals, like, products. Shout out to the longevity serum. That stuff's good. Maybe like 2 months pass by. I get another modeling casting from the acting websites. Who do I see at the same casting on Instagram stories? My new friend Alexis. So I messaged her, I asked her how the casting went. I go to the casting myself. And who is the casting for? A brand new company called Sol de Janeiro. Not only did I book the photo shoot with Sol de Janeiro, but so did Alexis. And this is a really big turning point for me in my story because Alexis was a signed model, getting work, booking the exact same jobs now that I'm booking. Me, an unsigned, like, not even a model. I'm just doing these jobs off of the acting websites, right? So this is a huge turning point for me. We do the Sol de Janeiro job together. There's only like 5 girls that did the photo shoot, I think. And such a fun day, like 6 hours of shooting, which is the longest I've ever shot anything at that point. That to me was just when I was like, okay, I might actually need to take this seriously now. Like, what Alexis said makes sense. I keep booking the same jobs as she does, and maybe I should give this a whirl. AKA, I'm gonna dedicate all of my time and energy to becoming a model now. Because I don't really do anything halfway, and I figured if it wasn't for me, that eventually it would figure itself out. So with nothing to lose, because remember, I'm moving home at the end of 2018, this was in probably like April and May that we shot Sol de Janeiro. For the next 6 months, I spent all of my time and energy learning about modeling. I made a list of every agency I could find online in Europe, in LA, in New York, in Arizona, where I'm from. Every agency you could think of at the time. Whether or not they accepted people under 5'8", I was applying to them. I made a full list. If I have a photo, I'll add it in. Crossing off if they responded, submitting. And I specifically only submitted online at this time because I am 5'4", 5'4.5" on my resume, on my modeling stuff. So when I apply to things or when I show up in person, even if I'm wearing 3-inch heels, I'm only making it to 5'7.5", which I believe is still considered short by modeling standards. So I knew my best bet was to look tall in photos, which I've been told that I do, but at the time, I figured I'll look tall in my photos. No editing, I'll just look taller because I'll be wearing heels. And hopefully they'll like my look. My first digitals I took in my room. My roommate took them for me against like my beautiful brick wall that I had in New York. I'll insert them here. And I just took them off an iPhone. Very little to no makeup. I think I just wore mascara, which is wild. but that's the way you do it. So I took those photos, I sent them in online to any agency you could think of, hundreds of agencies. I think 3 of them got back to me over the course of 5 months. So while all this is happening and I'm applying to all these agencies because this takes a while, I am doing free photo shoots. I'm shooting with friends. I'm learning how to actually model and having the skill set. So when the opportunity arises for one of these agents to meet with me or book me, I'll kind of know what I'm doing. So I'm following other models, up and coming models, seeing what they're doing in New York, seeing what's going on, following them on Instagram, DMing them if they like their agency. Really just gathering my information and starting to plan this for myself. Because I don't do anything without a plan. You have to have a plan, you have to have an end goal. And at this point, my end goal is to sign with an agency because I'd been booking work of my own, but I knew agencies could make me more money and get me better jobs. But on the bright side of what I was doing currently is that I didn't have to pay them 20%. So I was keeping all of my own money that I was making from these modeling jobs, which is huge. But I knew I could make more money even losing 20% to an agency. So I would say at that 4 or 5 month mark, August, September, I wasn't losing hope that I wasn't signed with an agency because the work was coming in. I was still booking my own work. All of my new model friends were telling me that I needed to keep pursuing this. And I just knew in my heart I needed to keep going. I was not deterred from the no's that I got. I just knew that I would keep modeling even if I didn't sign with an agency. I was not sad. I just was frustrated because I knew I needed to get with an agency to get to that next level. Mind you, waiting 8, 9 months to sign with an agency in the world of modeling, I imagine, is not a very long time. I'm just an impatient girl. So at 22 years old, I think I was at the time, I was just ready to get going. I had that, what is this hair? Airplane. I was just ready to get going. I was impatient and I knew this is what I needed to be doing and I needed the industry to catch up because at the time the only plus size model I was really seeing like in the public was Ashley Graham. That was it. So I had really had a lot of things against me. My height, my size, and every time I went to apply to a modeling agency online, the age cutoff was 25. Mind you, I'm 22 at the time. So not only am I short and bigger than everyone else, I also am old. That's what I'm being told from all sides. Old, short, too big. Somehow I persevered and was once more not deterred by this information. I just knew this is what I was meant to be doing. So I kept going. And by the time, I believe it was in October, one of the newer models that I had followed had posted about this company called The Thick. They were doing a newsletter, they were featuring models. I was like, cool, I'm gonna follow them. I'll DM them and ask if they want me to model for them for free in maybe like a week or two. I kid you not, a week and a half later, The Thick posted about how they were starting an agency with no height restrictions. You can imagine how elated I was to read that. I was so excited, so elated. I submitted. They wanted me to come in for pictures in, I believe it was end of October, early November. Little did I know I was like on the board by the time I went to go take these photos. I just didn't know how things worked. I went to go take these group photos and I didn't even know if I was still with the agency or if I was like with them or not at this point. I like to say I got really lucky, but I also think timing, luck, and preparation really prepare. There's a saying for that, timing, luck, and preparation come together. I don't know it off the top of my head, but that's how I felt. Like my timing, my luck, and the last few months of my work had all come together for me to sign with The Thick, aka now The Between, who I'm still with to this day. In November, I want to say I signed with them, and by January 2019, I booked my first job, which was my first editorial in the first month of the year. And then from there, it really did not stop. I think I had 1 to 2 jobs every month in 2019, and I was incredibly blessed to have an insanely, to me, insanely good first year at a modeling agency, considering I had less than 2 years of experience. That's kind of the baseline of my modeling story. I'm happy to answer any other questions you have down in the comments, but that is kind of how I set myself up in the most backwards way possible to become a model. Luck, hard work, perseverance, sheer determination to get to the other side. And now here we are, 6.5 years later. It'll be 7 years this fall that I've been signed with The Between.
Since then, I've also signed with Ford RBA here in Arizona. So I'm lucky enough to have two wonderful, wonderful agencies. Let's get to the Q&A. When you first got into modeling, how long did it take before you booked a gig? Technically, from signing with an agency, it took me 2 months to book a gig with my first agency. But previous to that, I have been very fortunate to typically book the modeling jobs prior to being with an agency that I submitted to through the acting websites. I can't say that's normal. I just have been very lucky to book them. I wish I could say I waited longer to book more things, but it did work out for me in that sense. Are you modeling full time? I have never modeled full time. I applaud the models that can model full time. That's just never been my situation. Even though I've been very lucky with the jobs that I've gotten, I've always had a job, sometimes two, on the side just because living in New York at the time, obviously, things are expensive. And I never knew if I was going to keep getting work, so I never really relied on just modeling. However, that does not mean it was on the back burner. I love this question. What has been your favorite shoot? I have to go with my first time shooting with Teen Vogue. It was in the Condé Nast building, and I met two super cool women. Michelle Lee, who is on Instagram, you should follow her, an amazing stylist, writer, so cool, so creative, as well as Joelle Hyman. I believe she was the creative director or creative coordinator. I'm not sure her job title, but she's one of the coolest girls I know in New York. You also need to follow her on Instagram. We had lunch catered. They asked for my coffee order. I had hair extensions put in, even though it was a skincare campaign. Like, it was just a quintessential model shoot that you think of in your mind. And shooting for Teen Vogue, I mean, I bought the magazines growing up, and it was just one of those pinch me moments that I still think about like really, really fondly. It was so incredibly special. Would you recommend going with agencies to get bigger and better jobs? Yes. However, I do think it's important to take the time to learn about modeling. It's one thing to like the idea of being a model, and it's another to want to be a model and to put in that work. Like at the end of the day, you are a product that the company and your agency is selling. At the end of the day, that is what you are. And agencies really take you to the next level, but I do think that you should build up some of those foundations on your own so that when the opportunity presents itself, you can push for that big agency jump and to be with an agency. But I don't think there's anything wrong with doing trade for a few weeks. Like, do trade for 2 months and see if you actually like modeling. See if you like the back and forth and the creativity before you sign with an agency. That's my 2 cents, is to give yourself time to really think about the industry and if this is something you want to do before going to an agency first. How should I submit to an agency? Do you have any advice about getting signed? My submitting advice would be little to no makeup. They want to see your natural face, so I always highly recommend being as simple as possible. I think I wore mascara and a little concealer, like a little bit, and brushed my brows for both sets of my digitals, actually. Like, less is more. Do you like working with the between? What should I know about them? Are you with Ford? How do you like Ford? So basically all of my agency questions. Both of my agencies are wonderful. The Between is based out of LA and New York, and Ford RBA is here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Wonderful, wonderful agencies. I would not be with them if they were not wonderful agencies. A testament to the fact that I've been with two other Arizona agencies prior that I left because I didn't feel like our visions were aligned. Just highly recommend finding an agency that works for you and that you both are aligned on what your goals are. How do you find your confidence? I used to own it, but I'm really struggling. I'm gonna probably make a whole video on confidence because I have a lot to say about confidence, but I will say if you're struggling with your confidence, modeling is not for you. This is not a forgiving industry, and this is not an industry that really thrives on you not knowing who you are. I would highly suggest if you're looking to get into modeling to really know who you are, because then you can kind of do anything. You can kind of go anywhere with that. If you're looking to modeling to get validation, I do not suggest this route for you. I thank God every day that I was 22 years old when I started this, because I think if I had started modeling when I was like 15, 16, I would not be the person I am today and I wouldn't still enjoy the job. Yeah. How do I get comfortable in front of a camera? It's so cliche to say, and I think I'm the wrong person to answer this because I love being on camera. I love having my photo taken. I like being on camera. It's something I really enjoy, but practice, it makes perfect. I think practice is what sets you up to do your best. My first photo shoot was an editorial with The Between, and thankfully I had some practice before because I already felt out of my depth, and if I hadn't had those previous shoots, I think I would have felt really, really, really out of my depth. So practice makes perfect. Set it up in your room, set it up outside, take photos, take videos of yourself talking. Do you have any advice on standing out and getting agencies to notice you? Yes, be yourself, and that's so cliche, but no one else is gonna be you. No one else looks like you. No one else does what you do. There might be some people that like the same things as you, but at the end of the day, being authentic to yourself like reads through. Like people can see when someone is not being naturally themselves, and I think agencies are looking for someone that truly knows who they are. So my advice to you is to be yourself and also work on your social media, because even though that's not what modeling is about, like I do think it is important to the agencies, whether they say it or not. This is a sidebar that I'm adding in. If I was applying to an agency today, I would go in person. I have met with agencies since then, and my height has not been an issue. So that was really my own thought process in 2018 at the time. Times have obviously changed. I don't want you guys to watch this video and think that you have to have perfect skin to model, that you have to be tall to model, that you have to be a certain size to model, because I am living proof that none of those things are true. I don't think I would have gotten any of these campaigns if my skin was not perfect. Mind you, I have rosacea, which is like low grade skin issues, but all of these campaigns wanted someone with rosacea. I wouldn't have booked them had I had perfect skin. My height has really never come up as an issue. My first editorial might have been a little embarrassing because they had me stand on an apple box next to the two taller models that I was with, but I was still in the room. It's still not a problem. And again, when I was on an apple box for the first time shooting Teen Vogue, a little embarrassing, but still in the room shooting. So my height really has not come up, other than having to stand on my tiptoes sometimes. That's really it. My size, I've been told I'm too small for a job before. They were looking for someone more plus size than me. I've been told I was too big for a job before. What's not meant for me will not be for me, and what's not meant for you will not be for you. I truly believe that if this is something you're interested in, you need to go after it, because you just never know what will happen. On that note, I think we have one more question. When you opened the Skims show, did you get to meet Kim? Well, I